StraighTAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is eliminating distractions. Before we get into this, I'll remind everybody I send out a text message every week called the Monday Motivation that is guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your week. You want to receive this message, so let me tell you how to get it. Just text me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. And every Monday when that Monday Motivation text comes out, you will be getting that message straight to your phone free of charge. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is where I do all my coaching. That's the only place you can mastermind with me. If you want to be working with someone who is out there actually doing the stuff that you are trying to do, you want to build a business, you want to get on the stage and give speeches, you want to have coaching clients, you want to make courses, you want to write books, you want to put content out there and build an audience. You see me actively doing this stuff, folks. So you know I'm not just, this is not somebody who went to college and read a bunch of textbooks and then is going to come out and try to teach you how to do something. That's not what we do over here. I'm showing you stuff that I'm actually actively doing in the field doing it. All you got to do is go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That is where you can work with me directly and hands-on. So that link and the number to get my text are both down in the description. With that out the way, let's get into this topic, which is eliminating distractions. And the definition of a distraction is a thing that prevents someone from giving full attention to something else. And this is an especially important ability to eliminate distractions because, first of all, attention is one of the 5 forms of investment, along with time, money, energy, and focus. Attention is one of the 5 investments that you must make into anything in which you plan on being successful. So this is an important ability and a prerequisite for anyone who wants to be a high-level performer, because you can't be high-level in anything unless you give all 5 forms of investment. So if you're distracted, meaning your attention is going in all different directions, you can't be high level by definition, by the work on your game definition, because you got to put on all 5 forms of investment. So if you want to be a prolific producer, you want to do solid, effective work that satisfies your constituencies, then you must be able to eliminate all possible distractions. So let's get into it. Point number 1. Topic, once again, is eliminating distractions. Most important thing you got to do here is to find focus. You want to eliminate distractions. Instead, you should flip that equation around and find focus. Now, while the title of this episode is eliminating distractions, the actual way to do so is to do what I'm telling you here in the first point, which is to find your focus. Don't try to eliminate distractions. Don't focus on the thing that you don't want and getting rid of it. Focus on the thing that you do want and acquiring it. Everyone understand? So it's like if you launch a product or you start a business, don't think about, well, what happens if this doesn't work and I lose all my money and I look like a dummy because I spent 6 months launching this business. Instead, ask yourself, well, how can I make sure that this does work and I actually sell and I get clients and I have customers and I'm making the kind of money that I want to make? And what am I going to do when I'm making all the money that I want to make every month, the way that I've always dreamed of? Focus on the thing that you do want instead of the thing that you don't want. So finding focus. So I'm just using eliminating distractions in the title because this is the thing that usually people come to me asking for. So really, I'm just using it as bait to get your attention. But let me tell you the real way here in point number 1. Find focus. When you are focused on something, there are plenty of things that you could possibly be distracted by. But when you're focused, you don't notice them because you're focused. So right now, for example, if you're watching this on video, I'm looking at the lens of the camera because I'm talking to you. I'm focused on the words that I need to say. I'm focused on making sure my voice is going clearly into the microphone. I'm using 2 microphones here to make sure that everything's being picked up and heard and understood clearly. That's what I'm focused on. I could be distracted by it. There's a window to my right and there are cars going by and the wind is blowing and there's some clouds overhead and I could be thinking about, is it possibly going to rain? And there's a closet over here to my left and there's a whole bunch of books on the shelf behind me and there's a phone on the desk in front of me. There's plenty of distractions inside of there and there's other things on my desk that you can't even see here in front of me. I could be distracted by all of these things, but when I'm focused on the thing that I'm doing, then those distractions do not exist. See, a distraction only exists when you notice it. Something's not a distraction if you don't notice it and you're not paying attention to it. Focus does not mean that the distractions went away. It's just that you are not noticing them because you are focused. Again, a distraction must be noticed to exist. See, one good thing about the human animal is that we can only focus on one thing at a time. This is a limitation we have as humans. But one challenge many of us have these days is that we are never focused on anything it, for a long enough time to get the kind of return on investment from that focus that we should get. When you do the opposite of what most people do, what most people do is they're always focused. I mean, always distracted, rather. They are never focused. They're always distracted. So you should do the opposite of what most people do. That's a good idea. Get focused on a specific thing, and then all the possible distractions do not exist in that window in which you are focused. Does everybody follow what I'm saying here? When you're focused, distractions don't exist. Also, remember that focus is a force multiplier. We talked about this in episode 1193. The longer and the stronger you can maintain your focus on anything, the more that focus can and will produce for you. That's why you need to get and stay focused. Moving on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is eliminating distractions. Create environments that are conducive to focus, also to full attention and to concentration. Environments, let me say this sentence again, that are conducive to focus, full attention, and concentration. So let's get a definition of this word conducive. It means making a certain situation or outcome likely or possible. So you need to be in environments that make focus likely or even make it possible. Some of you are existing and living and working in environments in which focus is just not even possible. It's not even likely. You're setting yourself up to fail, and then you're coming to me and saying, well, Dre, I can't get focused. I'm always distracted. I can't ever stay focused on anything for long enough because your life is set up to keep you constantly distracted. No wonder that's what's happening. All right, you're pretty much getting what your environment is set up to create for you. This is a very important point, especially for those of you who work in environments that are not originally set up for, let's just say, work, or let's just say the entrepreneurial minded people out there. If your environment is not set up for you to be productive and effective at work, then no wonder you're not productive or effective at work, right? Because your environment is designed to work against you. It's you against the environment, and you're losing. This is especially important for those of you who work from home, or you work in environments that you basically get to choose the environment. So those of you who go work at the coffee shop, or you work at Starbucks, or you work in the common area of the building that you live in, or you work in your apartment, whatever it is. All right, those of you who work from home, all right, this is very important. You got to set the environment up for you to win. See episode number 2429, where I explained, the title of the episode is How to Work from Home Professionally. So any of you who has not heard that episode, I'll lay it all out for you. This is even more important for those of you who don't have especially if you don't have a walled off space, specifically a room that is specifically for your office. I mean, a room where it's 4 walls and there's a door and you can close it and you can keep any other living being out of the room. All right, plants don't count, but any kind of living being, cats, dogs, especially cats cats usually don't bother you, but dogs that need attention. You might have a dog that can sit there and just sit at your feet and not bother you, but dogs that need attention, any other human being, I don't care who they are, kids, significant other, mom, dad, they got to stay out of the room. Roommate, they got to be out of the space. If you don't have this kind of space in your environment, then you need to be very, very, very intentional about setting up an environment that is specifically for work. Again, in episode 2429, I laid this out and explained it. Okay, so if you don't have this place that you can close the door and block people off, if you are working from home in a space that is open, let's say you have a studio apartment or you don't have a room that you can just use just for yourself, you have to set the environment up such that you are not distracted by the people or the things that are co-occupying your space. Even if you live alone, if you live by yourself in your place, your house, your apartment, whatever it is, you can be distracted by the fact that your everyday non-work stuff is around you while you're supposed to be working. See, the challenge with working, let's say you had a studio apartment and you work from home. Now, nobody else lives with you, just you. So you should be able to focus fully when you're working, right? But that usually doesn't happen. Why does that not happen? Well, think about it. The same environment that you sleep in and you eat in and you party in and you hang out and do nothing in and watch TV in, that's the same environment you're supposed to be working in. The environment has not changed, but you're supposed to shift your mindset. That's a challenge. It's much easier to shift your mindset when you have to leave your house and go to an office, because when you get in an office, you're in an office. All right, what's there to do in an office? Work. Your mind subconsciously understands, okay, I'm in an office, it's work time. Or if you have an office at home, okay, I'm in my office, it's work time. But if your bed is the same as your desk, then it's hard because the subconscious mind doesn't understand the difference. Everybody understand this? So this is why you have to do a little bit more work if this happens to be your situation. Because the mind doesn't understand that you're supposed to be working now, because ain't this the same place that we sleep in? Oh, now we're supposed to work? I don't understand. Your subconscious mind, this is the conversation your subconscious mind is having with itself. Wait a minute, this is the place where we eat dinner. Now I'm supposed to work here? All right, the confusion sets in. All right, so this puts a drain on your attention and focus, and it lessens your effectiveness. So whatever environment you work in, it needs to be conducive to your full focus and effectiveness. This is also important for those of you who like to work in high human traffic places, like coffee shops or shared workspaces, especially. There are a lot of shared workspaces, and I know those of you who live in big cities, so Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, Miami, New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, LA. You see these shared workspaces. There's a lot of them here in Miami. And I've looked at a few of them, and they look like fun places, but I never joined one of them because I don't want to work in a fun place. Because what does fun mean? Fun means there's a bunch of people milling about, there's a bunch of stuff to do. Well, I don't want any of that shit. I want silence and focus so I can do my work. All right. I don't want fun. I want silence and a place that nothing is bothering me so I can do what I need to do. Now, if I want to win friends and influence people, then maybe I'll go work in a workspace so I can make some friends and mix and mingle. But that's not what I'm looking to do. So those of you who like to work in shared workspaces, I'm not knocking you. I'm not telling you that you're wrong, but are you actually getting work done? And if you're in the open space, because the way these shared workspaces work is that there are different levels. So you can pay to where you just have access to the whole space. So you can go sit at any table you want and just do your work. And there's other people milling about. Other people might sit at the big table where you are, plug your computer in, do your stuff, and you can meet friends and there's coffee and all that stuff. Then they have levels where you can pay more and you get access to a walled off space. So where you may have a little office or you may have your own desk, where you have a desk, but it's still an open space, but it's your desk. And then you have a place where you can pay a higher level. You can pay and you have an office where you can actually go in a room and close the door and nobody can bother you. If you don't have that level, then you got to be very careful. Those of you who work in shared workspaces, or if you work in a place like a Starbucks, or you work in big cities, you see a lot of Capital One. They have these things called Capital One Cafe. This is a place that I used to work at myself often. Here in Miami, there was a Capital One Cafe. Well, there's a couple of them. One in South Beach, there's one in the downtown Brickell area. And the Capital One Cafe, there's another one actually also in Coral Gables. Last I looked, those are only three that I know about in the city. But I used to go to this one. This is back before I was wearing a suit every day. This is when I was wearing Jordans and shorts and t-shirts. And I would actually sit outside. I didn't like sitting inside because the AC was so strong in there. These corporate places, they turn the AC up so high it is uncomfortable. So I would sit outside in the heat, but I don't mind the heat. As long as I had some shade, I would sit outside in the sun and I would work on my computer. But this is a high traffic area, foot traffic area that I would sit in. So I'd be sitting there and there are people, like literally, if I sat there for 2 hours, literally 1,000 people will walk past me one direction or another. It's not like all 1,000 would stop and say anything to me, but they're walking by. So I had to ignore those 1,000 people to focus on whatever work I was doing. Now, the positive part about this was that sometimes I would see people that I knew, and I met some people by sitting out there. Some people would just see me. They would see me multiple times. They would stop and start talking to me, and I would have conversations with people. And I saw people who I hadn't seen in years. They would see me because they were just sitting out there. That happened a few times while I was sitting out there, but I had to stop sitting out there. And I stopped sitting out there. This is before I started, and it wasn't because it was too hot in the suit, because I wasn't wearing a suit yet. I had to stop sitting out there because what was happening was I was getting distracted too often. And by distracted, I mean not that I couldn't stop looking up at the people walking by, but people would actually stop and try to talk to me. It was homeless people coming up to me, random vagrants coming up to me, gay guys coming up to me, and it was like, all right, I can't sit out here anymore because I'm gonna end up somebody's gonna violate, and I'm gonna end up punching somebody in their mouth, and that's gonna be a whole situation. So I can't sit out here anymore. So I stopped sitting out there before I even started wearing the suits. I wouldn't do it now because it'd be too damn hot. And I also wouldn't even do it if I was sitting on the inside, because all you do when you sit in a place where there's a bunch of people milling about and you're trying to work, you're asking to be distracted because there's a bunch of people walking around. So they're going to notice you, and eventually somebody's going to talk to you. Somebody's going to ask you a question. Hey, is somebody sitting here? They're going to ask if they can plug their computer in. Somebody might ask you a question about what you're doing because they see you there all the time. All you're asking for is to be distracted from your work. Guess what happens when I'm here? All right, where I'm recording right now, I'm in a walled off space. The door is closed. Guess what does not happen here? Nobody stops me. Nobody interrupts me. Nobody asks me a question. Nobody says anything to me, and nobody walks by. Therefore, I have no excuses. I have no excuses. I cannot possibly get distracted by anything other than my own doing or this smartphone device. Nothing else can distract me. No human can distract me when I'm here right now, unless it happens to be an emergency. So those of you work in shared workspaces, understand that there's a psychic drain. There's an not emotional, a mental drain, subconsciously mental drain on your brain because it has to fight to wall off all the other stuff that it's not paying attention to just so you can pay attention to your thing. Here, I don't have that drain because there's nothing that my brain needs to tune out. There's nothing to tune out. It's everything in here. Nothing's moving. Nothing's happening. But if I go sit in a Starbucks and try to do this exact same thing, well, let's not say recording, but let's say I was writing. Now my subconscious mind has to block off all the conversations happening around me and all that stuff just so I can do whatever it is that I'm doing, my writing. And it's not that it's impossible to do. All right, I've written books sitting outside. I've written books sitting in Starbucks. I've written articles and a lot of great stuff that came out of me. So any great stuff that came out of me between the years of 2018 and 2021, that 4-year span inclusive. All right, all of that stuff, I did that while in crowded spaces with a bunch of people walking around. I sat next to swimming pools, and any of you been to or live in South Florida, there's a lot of things to see sitting next to a swimming pool. Trust me. And sitting outside in these high traffic areas, there's a lot of things to see sitting in these areas. I've done some of my best work sitting in these places. So it's not that it's impossible to do, but I get a lot more done in this area, and it's a lot more efficient. That's the whole point. So you got to make sure that you're staying away from these distractions if you can. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is eliminating distractions. Number 3, identify your key targets so you know what gets attention and what does not. I'm referring to your work here. Remember that our goal is to find focus, not try to eliminate distractions, not to try to eliminate distractions, because anything can be a distraction. So what are your key targets today? What are your key targets this week? What are your key targets this month? You should know. When you know exactly what they are, that's where your focus goes, because that kills 2 birds with 1 stone, because it allows you to eliminate distractions because you're focused. See, as soon as you focus on something, the distractions go away. When you know where your focus is going, there are no distractions. So, for example, those of you listening right now, if it's the beginning of your day, what's the most important thing you need to get done at work today? Do you know? What's the most important thing you need to do at work today? Those of you who are listening to this first thing in the morning. If it's the end of your day, what's the most important thing you need to get done at work tomorrow? You should know the answers to these questions. Why? Because this directs your focus and it eliminates distractions. You should also have these answers written down, by the way. Whatever the most important things are, you should have them written down so that when you get to work tomorrow or when you get to work today, you don't have to remember what you should be focused on. You just go do it. This is a simple point, but it's often ignored by many people. See, the time it takes for you to remember what to focus on, it takes a little bit of time for you that you can't get back, because now you got to remember, what was I supposed to do today? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to do that. So, and it's also like if you are focused on something and then somebody interrupts you, somebody walks up to you and asks you a question because you're sitting in Starbucks, or somebody asks if they can sit at the table with you because you're in a shared workspace. The time it takes for you to stop doing what you're doing, pay them attention, answer the question, then go back to your thing. Now you got to rev your focus back up. Remember, focus is a force multiplier. The longer you stay focused, the stronger the force. But as soon as that focus gets broken, now you got to go back to 0 and build the force back up again. Everybody understand this? Good. Let's recap today's class, which is eliminating distractions. Definition of distraction is the thing that prevents someone from giving full attention to something else. It's important for any of you who want to be a high-level performer, prolific producer, or you just want to be a solid, effective producer of what you do that satisfies the people who you are delivering to, whether that's bosses, clients, customers, etc. Number 1, find focus. So you don't really want to try to eliminate distraction. The best way to eliminate distraction is to find focus. Don't focus on what you don't want, focus on what you do want, which is finding the focus that you want in life. Remembering that focus is a force multiplier. The longer and stronger you maintain a focus, the more it produces. Number 2, create environments that are conducive to focus, full attention, and concentration. Conducive just means something to make something possible and highly likely. So ideally, if you really want to be as productive as possible, folks, do your work in a place that is walled off with a door that you can block other humans out, literally block them out from existing so that there's nothing that could possibly distract you, i.e., a room that is only yours and you can close the door and nobody else can come in. Now, if you don't have that available to you, then you had to do a little bit extra subconscious mental work to block out the distractions around you, like somebody talking on the phone, somebody making noise, people walking by, uh, people ordering coffee, somebody sitting on the couch next to you, the conversation happening 3 tables away. You have to do a little bit of mental extra work to block those things out. And if that's the situation, do it. But understand, as soon as you can get to a situation where you can block everything out and just focus that way, do that. That'll help you get a lot more done a lot faster. And then you can go have fun with all the distractions that are possibly out there. Number 3, identify your key targets so you know what gets attention and what does not get attention. Remember, our goal is to find focus, not to eliminate distractions. So anything can be a distraction. So what are your key targets today, this week, this month? When you know exactly what they are, that's where your focus goes. So you kill 2 birds in 1 stone. You also eliminate any possible distractions because you know exactly where your focus is going. So if it's the beginning of your day, you should know what your focus is for the day. If it's the end of the day, you should know what your focus is for tomorrow. All that said, folks, text me. So you're getting my Monday motivation text I send out for free every Monday. My number is 305-384-6894. Guaranteed to have you focus sharp and on point to start your week. Secondly, work on your game university. Work with me directly. That's the place you get coached by me. All these things that I talk about here on this show, we go deeper into exactly how to implement them, how to put them at work, how to put them to work in your life around the subjects of mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability. Every episode of the show, we're talking about that in some angle. Get into the university so you can work with me directly and we can talk about how this applies specifically to you, how you can implement it, and how you can make this work so you start producing the results that you want to produce in your life so you can get the rewards that you want in your life, like making money, happiness, satisfaction, going to the level that you want to go to, starting your business or taking it further. Again, that's workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all